Good morning. This is the first Sunday in February, and I'm so glad that you have joined First Parish in Concord. Whether you're zooming in from another town or state or from somewhere around the world, it is good to gather as a community. There's an exciting new development in the world of Zoom, if that's how you're joining us today. There is closed captioning now available. And so I want to let you know if that's something that you would like to try today. You can do it by looking down at the menu at the bottom and clicking on the CC. And I understand that through the miracles of technology, it will actually have captioning available there to you. So that is a wonderful new option that we have as a part of this time together. We'd love to know who is with us today. And so if you haven't had a chance yet, please let us know that you're here by using the chat and letting us know your name and where you are joining us from. We love to know who is gathered with us for our Sunday services. When you are using the chat, just select everyone or panelists and attendees. And so that way you'll be communicating with everyone, not just the worship leaders. In case you haven't met me yet, I am the Reverend Amy Friedman. I serve as the Minister of Religious Education at First Parish, and I am delighted to be leading the service this morning with our wonderful First Parish ministry team. I'd like to introduce them to you now. And so today we have the Reverend Liz Weber, who is our Minister for Pastoral Care.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to church. I'm very excited to share our message time with Amy this morning.
Jade Sylvans is serving us this year as our intern minister.
Hello, I am so happy to be here, as I always am. Good morning.
Dawn Van Patten and I had the joy of leading our family reconnect this morning. She is our Assistant Director of Religious Education.
Good morning, everyone.
Anderson Manuel is our Gospel Choir Director.
Good morning, everyone. So good to see you and so good to be here.
Beth Norton is our Director of Music Ministry.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
Adrienne Betancourt is our Social Action Manager.
The groundhog says 6 more weeks, so I'm sending you warmth and good cheer.
Sarah is our Zoom master behind the scenes. Sarah, will you say hello to everyone?
Good morning. It's good to be with you today.
And last but certainly not least, my colleague and friend, the Reverend Howard Dana.
Good morning, everybody. We are getting through winter together, and it helps me tremendously to gather with you on a Sunday morning.
Did I get everybody? Sometimes I miss someone. I got everyone. Wonderful. I am so grateful that we have a fabulous team and that we support each other in offering these services, but also in our ministry to our First Parish in Concord community. Truly, that is a blessing. This morning, as I mentioned, it's the beginning of February, and each month we are exploring a different theme, a different part of our roots as a liberal religious movement. For the month of February, we are exploring our humanist roots. I wrote the following call to worship when I was serving the UU Society of Martha's Vineyard, and I have used it many times to open our services. Once more, the earth has turned toward the light of the sun. As we are bathed in the light of a new day, so may we greet the dawning of fresh possibility. Once more, we awaken from our slumber as our bodies rise and stretch to meet the joys and challenges of living. So may our hearts and minds open with promise. Once more, we gather for worship as we join our voices in word and song. So may this assembly bring forth wholeness. Come, let us worship together.
As Unitarian Universalists, one of our symbols is the chalice, and we start all of our services by lighting the chalice. One of the representatives of our connectedness is the flame. Just as I'm going to light my flame, you can light your flame, and we can imagine that all of the flames are mingling together. So I invite you now to light a chalice or a candle if you have one, and join me. Whoops. Let me get another match. This is how you know we're live. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so join me in lighting your chalice or your candle, and read the chalice lighting response. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. Please join us in our opening song.
I asked my mother to tell me the story again. On the Sunday that my parents first visited First Parish in Waltham, it was a rainy day. The year was 1973, which means I was 3 years old. Even so, I consider myself a lifelong Unitarian Universalist because my parents were married by Donald Lothrop, radical minister of Community Church in Boston. But that's a great story for another time. So, it was a rainy Sunday in 1973 when my folks decided it was time to try First Parish in Waltham. You see, my father had listened to WCRB, which used to rebroadcast the sermons of the Reverend Ed Frost, and he was intrigued by the insightful thoughts. And my mother had grown up going to church, but she had moved away from Catholicism. And so she was happy that my father was interested in trying this church. You see, my paternal side is Jewish, and my father's family was not very religious. So with this complex history and not knowing what to expect, my parents parked the car in the parking lot, and then they were surprised to discover signs that said that they should enter through a side door. You see, First Parish in Waltham, like our own First Parish, has pillars out front and grand staircase. But instead of entering that way, they went around to the chapel, because you see, it was 1973. That's the middle of the oil crisis. And so the church was economizing by meeting in the smaller chapel. They wouldn't have to heat the large sanctuary. When they entered through the chapel door, as it's been told to me, I was swooped up by some ladies who said, "Children, go downstairs." Now, it's funny to think about that now, because I'm your minister of religious education, of course. We expect our children to be registered. We have forms for people to fill out. And I always hope that our families understand our programs and what we offer for our children. And even though we continue to have a wonderful relationship with that religious community, my mother, for the life of her, could not remember who it was who happened to swoop me up that Sunday and take me downstairs. But the reason why I relate that story, what my mother remembers, and what I hold deep inside myself, was this feeling of being welcomed, of coming home, of knowing through words and actions, we are so glad you are here. I want to show you the stole that was given to me when I was ordained by that same congregation in 1999. On one side of the stole, there's this image. You see they use two U's, Unitarian Universalist, to form a chalice. And of course, the chalice was first from the American Service Committee. That was during World War II. It was part of our relief efforts. But the flaming chalice itself was not part of my growing up Unitarian Universalist. We didn't start using a flaming chalice in our services until the 1990s, but time enough to get it on my actual stole. And then on the other side of the stole, which is very important to me, there is this symbol. This symbol is a sunburst, and it is the central worship symbol of First Parish in Waltham. Sarah, would you show them the photograph of my home church? There it is. There is the symbol of the sunburst that is in the First Parish in Waltham sanctuary. The gold sunburst is said to incorporate within it a cross, a star, and the Star of David. And just like the Charles Street Meeting House, this symbol was created by a symbols committee, and it replaced a large gold cross that used to hang there. Thank you, Sarah. The sunburst symbol captures a reverence for the natural order and the place of each person within it. So you see, God language is not used when I was growing up in the 1970s. Like the story that Dawn just shared, On the Day You Were Born by Deborah Fraser, I am awed by our place in the world, that with this green spinning ball of earth, there is a force of gravity that will not let us go, will not let us float away. I remember fondly singing, "All creatures of the earth and sky, come kindred, lift your voices high, alleluia." Lots of alleluias. I'll spare you singing that one. But I also remember every Sunday after the closing words, we would sing this version of the doxology. from all that dwell below the skies. Let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue. Amen. We are a non-creedal faith. However, like our benediction that we recite together each week, this doxology is a credo coming from the Latin, meaning I believe. It expresses the values that my home congregation held dear. The idea that each person's life is in service to creating a world where all people, all living beings would experience hope, harmony, and peace. I was raised by a religious community who supported and encouraged me. Whenever I walked through those doors, people wanted to know how I was. They wanted to know how I thought, and they shared with me their own perspectives. And they encouraged my participation and my leadership. I want to take this moment to offer my heartfelt thanks to all those religious education leaders in our congregation. I want to thank the 16 adults who said yes to being mentors for our coming of age program this year. Relationships between generations are deeply nourishing and needed to bring more love and understanding to a world still in need of repair. If you would like to find ways to connect at First Parish in Concord, or you want to be of service to young people, please do not hesitate to contact me, because I am so glad that you've come.
Thank you, Amy. Amy and I have many parallels to our stories, even though we grew up about a decade apart in the opposite ends of the Eastern time zone. Like her, my mom brought me and my sister to church when I was young, a kindergartner. And like her, I imagine that I am a lifelong Unitarian Universalist. Mine was the Miami Valley Unitarian Fellowship in Dayton, Ohio, and I too was brought downstairs for Sunday school while the adults went up to service upstairs. Church was a place where I felt loved and protected throughout my childhood. The adults around me respected me and my peers, and they cared about us. Their caring came through in the ways that they listened and taught us to listen to each other. It came through at coffee hour when we kids would nab the sugar cubes from that little bowl next to the carafe, back in the days when we used sugar cubes, and then collect hugs and then run out to the playground. And their caring came through in the books that they would read to us, including the story that Dawn read this morning, On the Day You Were Born. Messages about our belovedness and about the kinship of all creatures. As I grew, the adults' caring came through in how they taught me to be a leader and to care for the children who were younger than I was and for the world around us. Children younger than I was, and I'll say, although we would not do this today, I was a solo teacher for our preschool aged children in our Sunday school when I was just an 8th grader. I'm still in touch with some of those kids, and even though they are now very much grown up, I love them as much as I did when they were little. This sense of love was the first association that both Amy and I have with our childhood Unitarian Universalist congregations. I hope that you too were raised in a community where you felt held in love as you grew. So I know that religion has the potential to wound as well as heal. And so I'm glad that we can all make First Parish a place where our kids and our adults and everyone in between knows how loved they are. Amy and I were raised not just as Unitarian Universalists, but as human Unitarian Universalists. As humanists, not human, also human. As humanist UUs, we were taught to value science, to wonder about the natural world, and to know our place in the interdependent web of life. So the interdependent web, in that place you can see where my congregation had both humanist and earth-centered roots deep in its culture. In fact, before my family joined, there was even an offshoot church that would meet at the local nature center for worship on Sunday mornings. You can't find a better example of how humanism and earth-centered traditions might dovetail than that. So we were raised humanist UUs, and more than anything, we were taught that it's up to us to make our world a better place. Our caring matters. Amy sang to us about the idea that each person's life is in service to creating a world where all people would experience hope, harmony, and peace. Nearly 1,000 miles away, I sang the same song each Sunday, or just about. See, our children's chapel had our own doxology after we would take our offering. That same old familiar melody with new lyrics. I wonder if you can spot the similarities and differences. Since others do so much for me, I too will freely give and help to fill with happiness this church and world in which we live. Each of us throughout our lives is given much. Sometimes others help us because we are in need, and other times we are given much more than our share. And in turn, we do our part to help our fellow parishioners and our neighbors. Life is about our relationships. We are loved and cared for, and the care that we show others matters. Often, humanism gets defined very narrowly as believing in no God, or as only believing in what we can see and measure and prove here in this life. It's true that we did not pray in my church, and you did not hear an amen at the end of that doxology. We were encouraged to explore our beliefs, but we were taught to value rational thinking as much as personal experience. And that scientific experience, that scientific spirit that humanism embodies is important. But that's too narrow a definition. Humanism is much broader than that. There's no way to measure the love that connects us or the wonder that we feel when we look at the world around us. And that love, wonder, and connection is what matters most. When I was a teen, our minister would often wrap up his children's message by saying simply, "Thanks for listening to my story." So, First Parish, thanks for listening to my and Amy's stories. We hope you've gotten a snapshot of what it was like for us to grow up as humanist Unitarian Universalists. In our congregations, we were raised to be children who knew we were loved by our church communities, children who valued science and wonder, service to others, and making our world a better place. And today, we are adults who are grateful for our faith and glad to share it with you, our parishioners. Thanks for listening to my story. I invite you now to share a piece of yours. Here's our question for the chat. What do you value from your childhood spiritual or religious life? Go ahead and take a minute to boil that down and then type it in and share it with each other. Your responses to what you value from your religious or spiritual upbringing. The power of ritual.
So Liz, someone else shared that they also remember singing the doxology, either the verses, the version that we shared, or different words.
The importance of spirituality as practice.
Love of liturgical music.
Interaction of people of all ages and valuing each other's ideas.
Adults pouring out love.
Creative outlets in our youth group.
Songs of all kinds.
The uniqueness of church spaces.
My sense of wonder.
A sense of what today I would call holy awe.
The stories of Jesus Christ.
Being part of a community.
The power of ritual.
Our connection to all forms of life on this planet.
Realizing water was stronger than rock.
The life of Jesus coloring books.
My minister was so kind.
Encouragement to think about what I believed.
The importance of spirituality as practice.
The key is the search for truth and meaning in our lives.
Learning about chaos theory.
So many good ones. Let's just do a couple or one more each. Children and grown-ups in harmony.
Being held by the community.
And oh my goodness, actually this last one, 200 cups of coffee plus hot water for tea and hot chocolate. Wow. I think that's part of religious community everywhere.
Food and refreshment in all forms.
Yeah. So I invite all of us now to soak in the good music of our anthem. This is sung by Dr. Ysaye Barnwell, who is the composer of this piece, and it's from last year's Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly. So it's the virtual choir. If you look closely, you'll see some First Parish members.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
How wonderful to hear that song and to take it in. The beauty of a worship service is that it can hold us no matter where we are. If we are in great joy and contentment, we will find even more joy and contentment in being together. And if we are lost and sick at heart, if we know not where our next steps will take us, this too is a place for us. Let us enter into a prayerful, meditative time, a time in which we hear a bit from our own community and have the opportunity to say aloud the names of those that are on our hearts. This morning, we lift up prayers of comfort and condolence to Barry and to John and Suzanne. We offer up prayers of healing for Ben and prayers of celebration for Marion. And Sarah will put more details in the chat. Check that out. And now you are invited to speak aloud or type in the chat the names of those who are on your heart this morning, those experiencing great joy or deep sorrow. Let us hear them now. And let us hear them together. Please join with me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we knew it was going to be bad. We knew this virus would spread to all corners of our world. We knew it would disrupt life. We knew people would get sick and die. We knew jobs would dry up and businesses would close. We knew isolation and fear would set in. We knew winter would come and leave us snowbound. We knew all these things, and then it all happened. This waking nightmare of day after day the same. This deep frustration with trying to work or to go to school from home. This screen time, this masking up to shop, this having to interact with others knowing we too could fall ill. This panic about healthcare and the vaccine, this inept government response, not somehow instantly better, this longing for a hug, a trip, a meal in a restaurant. Hear our lamentations, O Spirit of life. We are not doing very well. We know there are vaccines and some are getting them, but spring seems so far away. We know there is community around us, but the loneliness is severe. We love our families, but day after day after day wears thin. There is only so much television we can watch. There is only so much cooking we can do. There is only so much Zoom we can handle. We are not doing very well. Hear us. Hear us when we are not our best selves. Hear us when our tempers are short and our patience is thin. Hear us when frustration at the littlest things overwhelms us. Hear us when we give up and just lie there. Hear us when we stop caring. Hear us when we lash out in anger. Hear us when fear makes us small. Remind us that the planet is tilting again, bit by bit. Remind us that each day, a few minutes of daylight are added. Set in us a longing for a time when life will open again. Revive in us that age-old ability to get through something hard. For if we can hold on, that will give others the courage to hold on too. Living through a collective trauma requires solidarity. None of us need do it all alone. Living through a pandemic is a team effort. It will ease for each of us when it eases for all of us. Harness all we feel through this. Anger at the injustice in the responses to this pandemic. Sadness for all that has been lost. Fear for ourselves and our loved ones, which is really fear for our whole world. And gladness for the resiliency we have summoned to meet this time. Walk us, step by step, towards spring. Bring our stressed minds and bodies towards some warmer day. Let us not give in to the rawness of winter. Let us not give in to despair. Let us make it through today and tonight. Hold us in your steady mercy, we pray. Amen. Let us be in silence together.
we light our social action candle for all survivors of domestic violence. If you ever feel unsure or unsafe in your relationship, or if you want to process something difficult from your past, please reach out. I'm here for you. We light our candle today for our domestic violence survivors because our Share the Plate recipient this month is Hagar's Sisters, an organization for survivors. Joyce Shetler Holt is here to tell us more, and then she'll be at coffee hour too. I want to give you a heads up that Joyce begins her message with a very strong question and references her own experience as a survivor. So if you aren't up for that right now, then just mute your video, mute your audio. If you want to come back after her message, it's about 3.5 minutes long. So
have you ever run in fear for your life or been beaten down verbally so badly that you lost your identity or sense of self-worth? I have, but it wasn't done by a stranger. It was done by my husband, the man who started off as my Prince Charming. But as a woman of faith, I wondered if I could leave my marriage and still remain within the teachings of my faith. The messages I received from the faith community were in direct opposition to the messages from the domestic violence community. I was desperate. I felt completely alone, and I had nowhere to go. But then, under circumstances that could have only been orchestrated by God, I met 4 other women who shared my struggles. We met in my living room to learn about abuse, to pray, and to seek God's will for our marriages. As other women found out about our group, our numbers exploded. In only 2.5 years, 63 women had found us. Well, that was over 10 years ago. Hagar Sisters is now a nonprofit based in Acton, Massachusetts, founded to educate and advocate for women of faith who are currently in, have been in the past, or question if they're experiencing intimate partner abuse. But it takes a lot of hard work for a woman to address the issues created by her experience. That's why our intimate partner abuse discovery and recovery program spans 3 years. The program offers an optimal mix of customized individual care and self-paced learning coupled with small group sharing and support. Any woman, anywhere who has a computer, notepad, or smartphone and a safe space can participate in all aspects of our program virtually using our secure digital platform. We strongly encourage and warmly welcome all women to participate, regardless of their religious beliefs, orientation, socioeconomic standing, or race. Those who complete our program experience remarkable transformation, moving on to live safe and spiritually vibrant lives within the context of ongoing and lasting healing. And you're going to get to hear their inspiring stories. Hagar Sisters needs people like you to come alongside of us to pray, volunteer, join our staff, and provide financial support for this unique program. We are so grateful for your generosity and your heart for helping women come. We are so grateful for your generosity and heart for helping women overcome their experience of intimate partner abuse and heal from that devastation. Thank you.
So now is your opportunity to contribute to both the good work of First Parish in Concord and to Hagar's Sisters, whose holistic services enable women to find healing and a new, healthy way of life free from domestic abuse. So our collection is split 50-50, and you're going to see a number appear on your screen that will allow you to text your donation. You can just text a whole number, 2050, or the first time you'll need your credit card handy, but you can also donate through our website or postal mail a check to the church building. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but as the days remain short and as the pandemic drags on and on, I am finding connection to be more important than ever. And although we still can't be together in large groups for a while longer, we have so many opportunities for you to connect with one another and with us online this week and every week. And I really recommend opening the FP Weekly emails. I know that we sound like broken records sometimes, but Sarah Burns does such an amazing job categorizing everything with the links right there. So you don't have to worry about, oh, where's the Zoom link, blah, blah, blah. It's all there, all in calendar form. There's little blurbs about everything. So I'm going to tell you about a couple things we have coming up this week, but really go to FP Weekly and see what is there and what might be interested, because we have each other still through all of this. So I know that Howard is doing his Bible series, The Bible as Story. Some of you know that last fall he did the Hebrew scriptures. Well, this spring he's doing the New Testament, or as I call it, Bible 2, the sequel. That will be, I believe, on Thursday, is that correct? Yes, Thursday night. Check that out in FP Weekly. Also, if you are a younger adult, age 18 to 35, I have started a pub theology group. It meets on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m., where we just sit around on Zoom. You can bring a beverage or not. I brought tea last time, and we talk about theological issues as they relate to the modern day. The theme this week is what the actual fact. So it's basically talking about the rift in reality amongst different groups of people in the United States. So if you are that age or have a loved one or a friend who is that age and might be interested in joining us, again, check out FP Weekly. And now I would like to introduce Jim Reynolds, who's going to talk to you about Coffee Hour.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Hi, everybody. I am Jim Reynolds. I'm on the standing committee, and every week we always have someone, and this week it's me, who will be hosting Coffee Hour, and just hope anyone who finishes a service and feels like hanging around, you can have your beverage of choice, and we'll chat. So hit the link and we'll be there. And Howard, I just want to say thank you for that wonderful prayer you just gave. Anybody wants to comment on that or anything in the service, I'll be there for that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jim. So once again, remember, you are not alone. We have each other, and let's ride this out together by making these connections. And now Beth will invite us to sing.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Jade. Please join me in singing our closing song, which was written around in the early 90s at a time when both Amy and Liz were in Unitarian congregations approaching us. This is For All That Is Our Life by Bruce Finlow and Patrick Rickey. Please join me in singing it.
Friends, I send you forth today with the benediction that we used in our children's chapel every Sunday morning when I was a kid. Go well into life now, and when you need us, always remember that here you will find the hands of friends. And let us say together the words that we all share each week. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Go out into the world in